Guys, as part of this Meet the Team, we have to introduce the most important players, right? And sitting with me is Bryan Davis. He runs everything. He's the team captain. He is the guy who is getting into that nitty-gritty in the file. He is making sure that docs that we need are there to be pre-approved. So we close, right? Because we're not going to issue you toilet paper. So I wanted you guys to meet Bryan, our cowboy over here, Kentucky man now. But Bryan, just tell us a little bit about yourself, coming over to the VA loaner, all that good stuff.
So my timeline in the mortgage industry started in 2016. I was working for another company. My father-in-law is actually also in mortgage, and so he got me an entry-level position with that company in funding and closing. So I spent a couple of years in closing and funding, learning that corporate operations side of the business. And then at that time, I got pulled in by a loan officer to come and support their team. Worked with them really up until this last April, and everything there, it was all amicable, still a great relationship there, one of my best friends. But when Joey came to me with the opportunity to help run his group, it was kind of like, man, the direction, the growth, the culture, it all lined up at the right time. And so that's when I made the decision to come on board with Joey and the VA Loaner Group.
We are so happy that happened.
Yeah. Like Joey mentioned, my wife and I moved out to Kentucky last September, and that's been awesome. So my wife's a veterinarian and took an awesome job out there. So it's kind of one of those situations it was too hard to pass up. So now I split time there, here in Arizona, and then at our corporate office in Chicago. As far as, what it's been like as far as transitioning, it's been amazing. Like, it really has been. All of the culture and all of the effort that we put into the culture behind the scenes that translates to what the customer gets to see, what our clients, what our referral partners, everybody top to bottom gets to see is pretty incredible. And the craft behind it is at the highest level. And so to be a part of something like that is something really special.
Man, I love this guy. So obviously, going over to the VA Loan Nerd team, right? We do a lot of VA loans, right? And we get into some weird things. And what I really, really love about Bryan, and actually a client of mine that we're working with right now, on a call we had, he said, ego is not your amigo, right? And I believe that exists no matter what you do. For anybody, ego will kill any deal, any transaction really quickly. And one thing I've loved about Bryan is that the open-mindedness and the ability to learn, not just the ability to learn, but the thirst to learn.
Well, and with VA loans in particular, there's so much that's the same of a conventional loan or an FHA loan or a VA loan, but there's also so much that's different. And so it's like, I have learned so much more than I could have anticipated about VA loans, and things that previous companies or even just with previous teams that would have roadblocked us and killed the deal ultimately, that probably ended up winding up with you. And now it's like I get to learn how to navigate those situations, how to get more veterans into homes, which is the goal at the end of the day. And so that's been the fun part of it, right? Like, the learning is fun for me still.
And there's not enough people with that thirst and that want to learn. And so, like I said, ego not being your amigo, some people are just out there like, I've been doing this for 47 years and I've never heard of a condo waiver in my life. Yes, if you're closing with a condo using your VA loan, you can pretty much buy anywhere. I know I say that a lot, but it's true.
There is a process.
There is definitely a process.
Don't think it's going to be a 15-day close, please.
Unless it's an approved project, then we're just going to insurance review. Or if it's been denied in the last 2 years, then we go straight to the condo waiver and the insurance review. Those are the two easiest situations: denied in the last 2 years or already approved.
100%. But this is the awesome yin and yang of Joey and I as your team, as the partnership that's behind you, your clients, or you as the borrower, is that we bounce this off of each other in every scenario too. And it's like, okay, this is where it's at. This is what's going on in this scenario. What do we think? What can we do? What sort of timeline can we do it? What sort of timeline can we do it in? And what obstacles are we forecasting, so that instead of waiting until an underwriter reviews your file and all of a sudden this or that or whatever is an issue, we have forecasted that and we are working on that at a pre-approval level so that it is a smooth process start to finish.
And that is important because, and Bryan's past is important here too, because you used to be a processor as well, right?
Correct.
So a processor is like that buffer in between the pre-approval and the underwrite. So he is looking at the things like an underwriter is going to look at it, right? He knows the guidelines. If he doesn't know the guidelines, he finds the guideline, right? It's, again, right back to ego's not your amigo.
Yeah.
You know, we find the answer. It's not about just saying yes, 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 yes. It's giving a reason why there's a roadblock, how we can work around that roadblock, or if it's just time to wait, right? Because if we let you get under contract and it falls through because of something that should have been caught early on, that's on us, and we don't do that. That's not our MO, right? What are some of the weirdest or most interesting things that you've learned about VA loans since you made the transition, since you started going in the 26 Tax 7? That's the VA Lender Handbook.
The one that stands out right off the top of my mind, and I actually was at breakfast this weekend with some friends who work for another mortgage company that I previously worked at, and they were picking my brain on VA stuff. And it happens a lot now. It happens a lot, which is cool. But the one that blew my mind from the first time you told me, and I think stands out more than anything else, is self-employed borrower without a history of being self-employed because it related to what their skill set while they were enlisted or in the military if they were an officer, not enlisted, obviously. And that just blows my mind because that is so counterintuitive to every mortgage guideline. And that's where the VA's common sense mentality to lending really comes into play. And I don't think there's a better example than that.
Yeah. And what he's referring to is generally they do like to see 2 years of self-employed history, but if they don't have 2 years, even in some very, very rare situations, I think I did a video on this. We did 23 days of self-employment, closed with a VA loan, right? So no tax returns for the borrower specifically. But when we went to the VA about it, we went straight to the RLC, the Regional Loan Center, and we asked the question. You know, we said, hey, we have at that time he was a lieutenant colonel. He had transitioned into a doctor position at a facility, and he bought the facility from the other doctors who previously ran it. Now, if he gets a year of tax returns, cool. They'll still use it. But in this case, it was only a few weeks that he had purchased the business. And we were able to get the business to turn over their tax returns. So we could use those in qualifying income. So it's crazy. It just goes back to document. But number one, ego is not your amigo. Ask the freaking question.
Always ask, because things change too, right?
Yeah.
Like, how often do things change where we may have in our head that it's stuck in one way that used to be the way that it was done, and all of a sudden, you know, guidelines change. People are constantly trying to bring those regulations, that compliance portion of the mortgage, up to date. You know, people want to talk about how different loan types may be living in the past, and everybody is actively trying to get those up to speed. But at the end of the day, they're also trying to protect the investment, protect the borrower, protect the end investor as well, like, which, hey, that's what drives mortgages. So,
yeah, no, it really does, man. It's awesome to see you growing in the VA space, right? That's what I'm most excited about, is watching your knowledge base expand. And when things come up, before you even come to me, right? Before you even come to me, it's already handled, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of it, is it allows me and other nerds, if you will, on my team to go out and help more veterans, because we know that we have a solid foundation with our operations partners, and having someone like Bryan, man, that's worth its weight in gold.
So when you hear from me, and maybe you haven't had the introduction yet from Joey, because there's times where maybe you talk to Joey in the evening or on the weekend, something like that, and we're just trying to hustle to get this process going. And when you hear from me, I'll always introduce myself, but I work side by side with Joey just to help to get your loan to the finish line just the same as Joey does. And there's the same care, caress, all of those things that are happening behind the scenes. Just because I may not be the person that you talk to up front doesn't mean that it's any different as far as what my goal is with the loan. And to set it apart from like the call center lenders or any of the big box banks, you would walk into a floor that is all cubicles, that is, 150 people that all have a very specific role, that is to get this document, then it goes down and to get the next document. That is not how we operate. This is completely like, we are going to be the people working with you start to finish, and we are going to be here for you, so that if Joey is unavailable, you give me a call. If I'm unavailable, you give Joey a call. You have the whole team at your disposal.
Yeah, and we are just so excited to have you taking charge of the VA Loan Nerd Group as we help more veterans and we expand, and we can't do it without people like you. So if you guys ever have questions, obviously reach out to us. Bryan is a wealth of knowledge, and that's for all loan types, and now VA loans specifically, which I'm obviously excited about. And I love that other people, like other lenders, and this is what really excites me, is that you just said other lenders are asking you about VA loans, because it's not about working necessarily with us. It's about veterans getting in more homes. Do we want you to work with us? Absolutely. But if our knowledge is helping other lenders close more VA loans, more veterans are getting houses, that makes my heart full. So.
Well, and that's the whole mission behind it all, right? Like, we've talked about that a lot, that the mission behind it is extended beyond our group and what's right here. It is helping veterans across the country get into homes, period. That's it.
That's a good way to end, period. That's it. I like it.